Today I want to share with you what I did to go from nobody in the mortgage industry to somebody. Going from no social media presence in 2015 to over 1,000 followers and friends, building a personal brand, leveraging social media with zero experience, and banking £324,000 in business in turnover from January 2016 until April 2017. Recently, Emma Mills, a good friend of mine, a client, someone I've known since 2016, interviewed me on her podcast called Focus on the Fun Stuff. And we spoke about my journey. And in speaking about that journey, I think it's really valuable for you to understand where I was and how I got to where I am, so that you can hopefully take some inspiration, some ideas, and go away and do the same. Your journey's not going to be exactly the same as mine, but if you can learn vicariously through the mistakes that I talk about, if you can implement some of the strategies that I lay out and put into practice, then that's going to help you to build a better business, to have more freedom than you ever had before, and hopefully you'll implement and double your revenue as well. So let's crack on with listening to the interview with Emma Mills.
There's one thing I always think about when I think about you, Gary, is that you show up no matter what on socials. I don't think, even if I'm not on there for a week, if I'm on it every day, like if I'm on it, you're on it. Like I see you showing up, and I think that's one thing that I always think that I take inspiration from you from, because I know that that's what you're passionate about, in teaching others how to take control of your presence, your brand. So when you shifted to this strategy in your mortgage brokerage to begin with, what impact did that have?
Huge. So take this month, for example, in my training business, we've generated 70 leads organically with no paid advertising whatsoever. Wow. And that's been consistent for probably the last 6 or 7 months.
Oh my gosh.
And it's just through the methods that we now teach people in terms of building online assets and stuff. But I had no idea, no social media presence. I was like everybody else, watching it as a voyeur.
Yeah.
Seeing all the cats on skateboards and people who used to sit there eating their food at the beginning of their Facebook lives and all that kind of stuff. But I just made a commitment on January 2016 that I would just post every day. And then by the time we got to June, I started doing video. By the time we got to November, I did 30 Facebook Lives for 30 days, and my mates absolutely ripped everything out of me that I possibly could. And that got over all the fears and the anxieties. But since June of 2016, like even today, I hate doing video.
Really?
I really don't enjoy it. But that's why I've always paid for Monty's obviously here with me today. I've had Keith for the last few years. I've had Jack in a past life that you know. Yeah. Izzy was my first ever as a social media apprentice.
Social media,
just someone to hold me accountable. Because you know what it's like, if you pay, you got to do it.
Yeah. How interesting. Okay. Yeah. So that you then built a mortgage brokerage based on basically social media generation. You even now teach it in Rob Moore's progressive property community.
Yeah.
So would you say this approach, like how has it helped you, as I say, focus on the fun stuff? What's been the difference?
Huge. It's the thing that I always liken it to is, there's only 3 ways you can really market your business. You can essentially do content, you can run paid ads, or you can do some kind of outreach and get introducers and partners and cold calling, that sort of stuff. Having paid for leads, you'll get quick wins, but it's also a money pit because you've got to keep topping up the bucket and then it obviously drips out the bottom. In the same way as you run, say, Google ads and do SEO, content strategy is slower burn, but clients come to you when they're ready. There's so much information out there now. We effectively don't have to market or advertise, but it means we're making more return.
Yeah.
It's more of a time investment than necessarily a money investment, although now I'm paying wages, but clients stay with you for longer. There's less resistance when they come to you because they've gone through a journey with you in advance. Your marketing's doing the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
Whereas someone who's scrolling on Facebook sees an ad, comes in, you don't know if they're ideal. You don't know if they're the type of client that you want.
Yeah.
So I've just found that it's made us more money in less time, which has made us more profitable, meaning I can focus on that fun stuff.
Yeah. And it's definitely made you, so if I just focus on the mortgage business for a minute, we're going to move on to kind of where you've pivoted your life, and I know you really enjoy. But just in the mortgage business, like I know that the content and everything you created for so long has positioned you as the key person of influence in most groups that I'm in. Like if somebody's asking about a mortgage, it's Gary's that's tagged all of the time. And I guess just ultimately, how much time would you say that you dedicate to that, the content creation? Because I feel like there might be some people listening to this going, but paid ads, I can either get somebody else to do it for me, or content creation sounds like another job in itself. Like, how much time would you say you're dedicating to it?
I think anyone starting out, and we've got a guy who literally just joined us last Wednesday as an example, and he was messaging me on Friday like, I've done 3 posts and got 7 followers. Like, this feels like a massive waste of time. He'd put half an hour into it each day, but he got his first inquiry on Saturday, I think it was, and then was sending me a picture with like his first P person who had seen his content. So it's like, it can happen really quickly if you get it right. But we teach our clients to do it like on a walk and talk, or when they're sitting in their car, or just doing it in their day. As Gary Vee says, document, don't create. There's things happening in our day all the time that you can just grab your phone and talk about. And that was all I started to do in 2016. When someone asked me a question, I thought, okay, someone else might want to know this, and I just used to type about it. And then we started to record video about it and put them on YouTube. And God, I hate looking back at those videos now.
Do you remember the period of time where you were always on the treadmill? Was it treadmill?
In the gym.
The cross-stepper thing in the gym. Every single day you were talking to camera on the cross. I remember that period of time.
Yeah. There's even worse ones where, bearing in mind my wife is my hairdresser, I think my fringe must have been about this big. I'm like, what is going on? But age.
So, document what you're doing while you're doing it is the easiest way. And I think that's because there'll be lots of people that know they need to get out of their own way listening to this. And for me also, it's not about it being polished, is it? It's just
not
actually, no.
Now AI's come around, people just see deep fakes everywhere. So it's actually, I always look at the fitness industry because it's an oversaturated market. Mm-hmm. There's fitness influencers everywhere. Mm-hmm. They're all trying to pitch that their way is the best way.
Yeah.
People are interested in fitness 365 days a year, but some of the biggest and best accounts are just someone who's sitting there with their phone chatting away. All right, Mel Robbins is one of the psychology type people. She's got a massive following.
Crazy big, yeah.
But you take hers, she just chats to the camera.
Yeah.
She shares more podcast stuff now. But then you look at Alex Hormozy, where it is all, say, polished and high-end and everything else. I think for someone starting out, it's way more authentic, and you can see people are just doing well off it. Unless you're a huge influencer, just grab your phone and talk to it. It's the simplest strategy. Yeah.
And just next question then. If you're saying just grab the phone and talk to it, totally agree. Somebody's like, I would love to do that, but what on earth do I want to say? What am I going to say? What is the easiest strategy, do you think, to just get started?
Talk about problems.
Yeah.
Someone who asks you a question, in a mortgage sense, can I get a mortgage with 1 year's accounts? How much deposit do I need? We get things now. Coming up here today, I literally grabbed it and just said, one of the best ways to leverage yourself so you don't have to create content is be interviewed on a podcast. But you can't get invited to come on in interviews unless you've built a brand and shown some credibility or content in one of those kind of ways.
Yeah.
But any question that your client asks you, talk about that as a problem, share what the solution is, add a simple call to action, and do that consistently for 90 days.
Yeah. Perfect takeaway to get started on.
So I hope you enjoyed that clip from Focus on the Fun Stuff with Emma Mills. We have put the link in the description and in the show notes for you to be able to go and listen to the whole episode. Please go and support Emma by going to listen, and equally go and learn more about how you can systemize and scale your business so you can do more of the focusing on the fun stuff. Peace out. I look forward to seeing you next week.